Hello again. This is a second video in this week. And again, this is Rich Lamore at Boundless Financial Solutions, a senior partner. And I want to talk to you this time about the Federal Reserve Bank. What is the Federal Reserve? Well, it was instituted in 1913. Actually, there were three central banks, but over a 20-year period, two of them went away, failed, or went away. And we're left with one, the Federal Reserve Bank. And, that's what controls our monetary policies, the Feds, the Federal Reserve Bank. So you think, it must have something to do with the federal government and we're all part of this and we vote for people and all this. Wrong. The Federal Reserve Bank is private. The Federal Reserve Bank is controlled by bankers. Everything the Federal Reserve Bank has ever done is for the benefit of the bank and bankers, period. They control the money cycle. And I know I have the money cycle up in front of you here again. And the reason why I have the money cycle up is I want to explain how this works. See, basically, anytime you print money, you are creating inflation. Now, why would you do that? Well, because when debt is rising, debt causes deflation. And the central bank is going to have, or the Reserve Bank is going to have a war. All central banks throughout the world have a war on deflation. They can't have deflation. Everything collapses when debt overwhelms the currency. So you've got to fight against deflation. How do you do that? You print more money. That's one of the ways they do it. Certainly there's other ways you could try to do it. And I'll get into that in a little bit too. But basically what they've decided their only way out is to print money. Now that causes inflation. So when you look back, in 1913, there was when the Federal Reserve was created, there was a 1-to-1 ratio between an ounce of gold and a dollar bill. 1-to-1 ratio. It was 100% linked. But after that, shortly after that, they lowered it to a 40% link, which created cash flow, which really led to the Roaring 20s, right? But it also led to eventually, it didn't get rid of deflation. See, printing money doesn't get rid of the underlying debt, which causes deflation. Eventually, deflation wins out. There's no way you can't get to deflation. Like I talked last time, 100% of the time, that's the direction it goes. So you hit 1929, the debt overwhelmed the printing of money, if you will, and we had a terrible depression, right? But we've been here before as a human race. Let's just go back to France in the 1700s. The same thing happened to them. They went through this money cycle. They started printing money. And then, a loaf of bread, let's say dollars today, a loaf of bread costs like $10,000. Everything started to collapse. They went, it took 80 years. They had to go back to hard assets, gold and silver. It took 80 years for them to right the ship. We look at Germany after World War I. Their hyperinflation was caused partly because of the Versailles Treaty and the fact that America, I think, was weak and went along with France and England's vengeance. And we crushed Germany. We crushed their soul. We crushed their economy. And we actually were, led rise to somebody like a Hitler coming into play, because when people are oppressed, they'll follow anybody that'll get them out. So, Germany went through this cycle as well. And look what happened, right? We're going through this cycle right now. We have 100% fiat-based currency. So when you look at how did we get here? Well, back in 1963, President Kennedy signed an executive order that was going to link our money back to silver and make us strong again. Well, certain factions led by LBJ and the liberal side of the Democratic Party did not like this. And there's, so many people that could have had Kennedy killed. Whether it was Castro, anybody that loved Marilyn Monroe, the mafia. You can go down the list. There was quite a few people that wanted him killed. But on the list, the Federal Reserve, the Feds wanted him killed. So that's where I hang my hat. Why? Because after Kennedy died, shortly after, starting in January of '64, all silver was removed. All silver was removed from coins over a 6-year period. By 1970, there was no silver in our half dollars, quarters, etc., dimes, whatever. Then came 1971, and what did the Republican See both sides here. They're all politicians. What did Republican Nixon do? He took us off the gold standard. And there you have it. We have not been linked to a hard currency since 1971. So, because that decision in 1971. So here we are, kicking the can down the road. So I'm just letting you know that this is part of the money cycle. This is the effects of inflation, trying to fight deflation, but somewhere down the road, deflation always wins. So we do have strategies, and that will be the next video. Thank you.